For nearly 2 decades, she wasn't just a movie star, she was Nollywood. If you rented a Nigerian movie in the early 2000s, there was a good chance she was on the cover. Directors wanted her, brands wanted her, fans adored her. She became the face of an entire industry. Then, almost overnight, she seemed to disappear. No blockbuster movies, no endless interviews, no explanation that satisfied everyone. Rumors spread faster than a village gossip who just discovered WhatsApp. Some people claimed she'd retired, others insisted she'd been blacklisted. A few even believed she'd secretly left the country forever. But what really happened to Nollywood's biggest star? Today, we're uncovering the remarkable story of Genevieve Nnaji, her meteoric rise, the controversies, the silence that fueled endless speculation, and why her story is far more complicated than most people realize. From child actress to national icon, long before streaming services, before Netflix invested in African films, before social media made overnight celebrities, there was a young girl who simply loved performing. Genevieve began acting as a child on the popular television soap Ripples. At the time, nobody imagined she would eventually become one of Africa's most recognizable actresses. By the late 1990s, Nollywood itself was exploding. Movies were being produced at incredible speed. Video CDs filled market stalls across Nigeria. Families gathered around television sets every weekend. And Genevieve quickly became one of the industry's brightest stars. She had something difficult to describe. It wasn't just beauty, it wasn't just acting ability, it was presence. The kind that made audiences stop talking whenever she appeared on screen. Soon, one successful film became 10, then 50, then over 100. Whether she played the innocent village girl, the wealthy businesswoman, or the heartbroken lover, audiences believed every performance. Her popularity spread beyond Nigeria, across Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, the United Kingdom, even Caribbean communities. Wherever Nollywood reached, Genevieve's name usually followed. People weren't simply watching movies anymore. They were watching Genevieve movies. That's an entirely different level of fame. The queen of Nollywood pub. By the early 2000s, Genevieve had become much more than an actress. She became a symbol. Magazine covers, international awards, brand endorsements, fashion campaigns. She helped redefine what an African movie star could look like on the global stage. Many younger actresses openly admitted they entered Nollywood because they watched Genevieve growing up. That's influence, not just popularity. She also became one of the highest paid actresses in Nigerian cinema. At a time when female performers often struggled for equal recognition, Genevieve was proving that women could carry entire films on their shoulders, and audiences kept buying tickets. Of course, success always attracts competition. Before long, the media became obsessed with creating rivalries, especially between Genevieve and fellow superstar Omotola Jalade Ekinde. Every interview became another opportunity for reporters to ask, so who's the real queen? The truth? The media loved the rivalry far more than the actresses ever seemed to. Years later, both women would continue to be celebrated as pioneers of modern Nollywood. Then came the movie that changed everything. In 2018, Genevieve did something few expected. She stepped behind the camera. Instead of simply starring in another film, she directed one. That film was Lionheart. It wasn't just another Nollywood release. It became the first Nigerian Netflix original film, introducing millions of international viewers to modern Nigerian storytelling. For many fans, this felt like the beginning of an entirely new chapter. Hollywood collaborations, international directing, global recognition. Everything seemed possible, even though Lionheart later faced disappointment when it was ruled ineligible for the Oscars because most of its dialogue was in English. The film itself remained a landmark for Nigerian cinema. People expected Genevieve to become even more visible. Instead, the opposite happened. The silence that started 1,000 rumors. Months passed, then years. No major acting roles, very few interviews. Almost no public appearances. fans began asking the same question. Where is Genevieve? The internet did what the internet does best. It guessed. Some claimed she'd retired. Others claimed she'd secretly relocated. Some even invented elaborate conspiracy theories with absolutely no evidence. Because apparently, if someone enjoys privacy, the internet immediately assumes they've joined a secret society on the moon. The reality was far less dramatic. Genevieve had stepped away from constant acting and shifted much of her focus toward producing and developing projects behind the scenes. She later served as executive producer on I Do Not Come to You by Chance, showing she had not left filmmaking altogether. Why walking away was actually risky in Hollywood. Taking a break can be dangerous. In Nollywood, it can be even riskier. The industry moves incredibly fast. New stars appear every year. Audiences change. Streaming platforms reshape viewing habits. Algorithms reward whoever is constantly visible. Disappear for several years. And many people assume your career is over. Genevieve knew this. Yet, she chose quality over quantity. Rather than appearing in dozens of projects, she became increasingly selective. That decision frustrated some fans. But it also protected her legacy. Instead of being remembered for average performances, she remained associated with excellence. Sometimes, doing less creates more mystery, and mystery keeps legends alive. Did Nollywood leave her behind? Here's where the story becomes interesting. While Genevieve appeared less often, Nollywood itself transformed dramatically. The industry shifted from quick home video productions toward higher-budget cinema releases and global streaming platforms. A new generation emerged, new stars, new directors, new audiences. Suddenly, the industry Genevieve helped build looked very different from the one she entered decades earlier. Yet her influence never disappeared. Many of today's leading actresses still describe her as one of the people who inspired their careers. The comeback nobody expected then. After nearly 8 years away from acting, the news finally arrived. Genevieve was returning, not in a random film, not with a small cameo, but with a major role in BBC Studios' adaptation of Wahala, based on Nikki May's best-selling novel. The series marked her first on-screen acting role since Lionheart in 2018 and signaled a return to international productions. Fans celebrated across social media because sometimes absence really does make the heart grow fonder. Her return reminded audiences of something important. She hadn't disappeared, she'd simply chosen a different pace, more than an actress. Looking back today, Genevieve's greatest achievement may not be any single movie. It may be changing how African cinema is viewed around the world. She helped prove Nigerian actors could become international stars. She helped demonstrate that African stories belonged on global streaming platforms. And she inspired countless young filmmakers, especially women, to dream beyond local success. That's a legacy very few performers ever achieve. Subscribe for more stories about the legends, mysteries, and untold moments that shaped Nollywood.